What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the OBR Prospect Spotlight here on the OBR Streaming Network. I'm your host, Jacob. You can find me on X at Roachism13. If you want to interact with me, go over there, shoot me a DM, send me, tag me in a comment, whatever you want to do. I love talking drafts, so I'd love to hear from you guys. You can email me on the website as well on the OBR, and I'm trying to be a little bit more active in some of the messaging boards and some things over there. So if you want to talk an NFL draft, I'm always happy to do that. Thanks for tuning in. Please make sure if you're on YouTube, you hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up. It helps us a ton in the algorithm. And it's time for my first video mock. I've written a couple of mock drafts up for the OBR at the website, but I haven't done any one on video. So this Prospect Spotlight will be highlighting that. So I'm really excited to do that. This is the first mock draft with multiple third-round picks. I really had some fun with it, with that aspect of it. So I'm really excited to jump into it. So let's get started. Round one, pick 2, I got Will Campbell, the left tackle from LSU. Kind of a little peek behind the curtain at some of my processes when I go through this. I love to use the mock draft simulators. In my case, the NFL mock draft database is the one that I'm using for the mock that I'm presenting in this video. And in this case, my offensive tackle 1, which is Kelvin Banks Jr., the left tackle for Texas, was actually taken number 1. But I think if you are, air quotes, settling for Will Campbell at number 2, I don't have any kind of issue with that at all. Will Campbell checks in 6'6", 323 pounds. He's got that ideal size, strength, and length profile. His arms are a little bit undersized. His overall length at 6'6" is great. It's excellent. But you're talking probably sub 33-inch arms, and that's making some people in the draft community kind of throw him in at guard because of that. I actually don't see an issue with it when I watch his tape. I don't think he's outmatched or outclassed in any way, shape, or form because of physical limitations. So to me, he's a left tackle. Checks in 84.9 pass blocking grade this year from PFF, 70.4 run blocking grade from PFF, and 0 sacks the last 2 years combined. Which is well over, which is like around 1,000 snaps. He's not allowing any kind of sacks. I think he's got excellent contact balance, especially at the point. Excellent contact balance in leverage because of the way the pad level that he plays with in the knee bend. You see these guys at 6'6", a lot of times their pad levels be so inconsistent, up, down, all over the place. I think Will Campbell at 6'6" is very good at playing with leverage, despite being bigger than a lot of the guys that he's going to go up against, and kind of that contact, the balance. The overall footwork, I think, are great. They're excellent there. His strength at the point of attack is really great. I think he gets in and out of his pass blocking sets and anchors so well. I'm not concerned about any type of pass rusher against Will Campbell. It's not like, he can only handle speed rushers or he can only handle power rushers. No, he's a plus level athlete, above average athlete, moves really, really well. I think he gets in and out off of the line of scrimmage and into his pass sets really well. When he is, when he gets there to anchor and is ready for a bull rush, I think he does a really good job getting his hands where his hands need to be. I think sometimes he can overset a little bit and get beat back on counter moves on the inside, and sometimes it leaves you a little bit to be desired. But he's like 3 quarterback pressures in 6 games this year. So like if you're kind of nitpicking, I think you can find some of those things, but his ability to sustain, drive, and finish blocks are really impressive. I think that sometimes he kind of overextends a little bit, and his hand placement in space as a run blocker can be inconsistent, which is kind of bizarre because I love the way the leverage and hand placement as a pass protector. I think sometimes when he just gets it into the open field, even as a good athlete, sometimes I think he overthinks some things and he just doesn't shoot his hands up as quick as he needs to in those situations that can lead to some kind of negative situations. But you're looking at a really great athlete with good size, great length, strength, and power, and all of those things put together. I think Will Campbell is the total package. Some people want to kick him into guard because of the arm length. Well, you know what? If you take him at 2 and it's not working at left tackle, Joel Bitonio is probably retiring soon. Kick him into left guard. I think either way, you're going to find a home on this offensive line as you're trying to retool it. And I think Will Campbell at number 2 would just be an excellent pick. Moving on, to my second round pick, round 2, pick 33. I'm going with Garrett Nussmeier, another LSU guy, this time the quarterback. Garrett Nussmeier through 6 games. The completion percentage is lower than you want it to be at 64.3. He's thrown for 1,989 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. But for me, it's been the progression of Garrett Nussmeier through these first 6 games. You're talking about a guy that had played in some games prior to this year, but was never the starter with Jaden Daniels there the last couple of years, winning the Heisman and doing those things. So he's never been the full-time, full-blown, hey, Nussmeier, you are 100% the starting quarterback. He's played in several seasons, but, this is the most extensive we've seen him do. I think, 6'2", about 212 pounds, somewhere around there. I think he's got the ideal size. He really stands tall and strong in the pocket. I have no concerns about him in that aspect of what he does as a pocket passer. He's not afraid to take a hit, man. And that's one thing that really stands out. He will stand in that pocket and he will deliver a ball knowing that he is going to get smashed. And he's not afraid of it. Same thing when he's on the run. He's not afraid of there's a crashing linebacker, DB, whatever. Somebody breaks open late and he's going to hold on to it, throw it. He's not afraid to take to be physical, to take those hits in those situations, which is really awesome. I think he's got all of the arm talent needed. It's not necessarily going to throw it 70 yards in the air, but how often do I need somebody that can throw it 70 yards in the air? But he can make all the short, intermediate, deep passes. When you look at the grading system with PFF, it's pretty consistent. Actually, I'll bring it up just because I think it's something nice to be highlighted. But you can see that this is a guy that, like I said, he makes all of the throws. It's not he can't do intermediate stuff. Because when you bring him up in PFF's database, you're talking about deep grade 83.8, intermediate grade 89.9. The no pressure grade's 90, has an adjusted completion percentage of 70.3. The turnover worthy play is at 2.2%, higher than you want it to be. Big time throw percent is at nearly 5%. Pressure to sack conversion rate 1.8. So he does a pretty good job of managing pressure at times. Like I said, the thing that really sticks out to me is he doesn't get rattled after making a mistake. He's made plenty of mistakes this year. There were some decisions last week against Ole Miss where you're like, Garrett, what are you doing there, brother? We can't be trying to do some of these things, but he doesn't get rattled after he makes them. He's got a short memory. And is not afraid to go back out there and try another throw. And he can throw it from multiple different arm angles. So I think he gets the job done pretty well. One thing that I thought the decision-making I said was inconsistent. So is some of the footwork stuff. There's too often where his feet are not set that he's throwing the ball. And he makes up from some of that because I think he's got good arm talent and good arm strength and he can make those throws. So he makes up sometimes for poor mechanics on his footwork, but that's not something you're going to be able to make up for much at the NFL level. They're going to make you pay for that. But the good thing is I think he's gotten much better footwork wise and decision making outside of some of those decisions in the Ole Miss game. As the year's gone on, you've seen him grow and develop as a passer this year. He's flying up my draft board. He's in my top 5. If he is there in round 2, I think he's great, especially if you have somebody like a Jameis Winston, Joe Flacco, whoever it is, someone like that type, Andy Dalton even, someone like that to play in front of him for a year, give him some more time to grow and develop. I think Nussmeier has the traits and the talent. I think he just needs a little bit of time. There's this one throw against South Carolina that really stood out to me. He has his tackle being pushed, or it might have been his guard, but he has one of his linemen getting pushed into him, and he's making contact with him as he throws it about 30 yards downfield and drops it into a bucket, just absolute dime. He can make those big plays. He can really grab your attention when he's doing what he needs to do best. Dane Brugler, which I think is probably the best in the draft agents, draft content creator, Dane Brugler for The Athletic is he's the GOAT, of what we do here. And he says he sees so much of Tony Romo in his game. And I had never really thought about that. But then when I go back and watch Nussmeier with the idea that it's like, hey, by the way, Brugler says that's Tony Romo. He is. He plays a lot like Tony Romo, and the athleticism and the ability to move is to throw. He's not usually going to run for yardage, but I just think all the traits are there for Garrett Nussmeier, and I think he'd be a great pick in the second round as you're trying to figure this out, life after Deshaun Watson. Moving on to the first third-round pick. So you're talking about round 3, pick 68. I got Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State. This is a fun prospect, guys. 6'6", 261 pounds on the year, 40 catches for 513 yards and 4 touchdowns, including 17 receptions in his last game, which is an FBS record for a tight end. And including in that game, a trick play where he snapped the football and caught a touchdown on the same play. This is a guy that they run zone reads with, end arounds, carries the football. He was a former quarterback, so he's got kind of a little bit newer to the position, hasn't been playing tight end all that long, which kind of shows up sometimes on his tape. But this is peak traits guy. 513 yards. He may end up with 1,000 yards. The production may be there this year, but this is a guy that is at the tip of the top of athletic traits at the position. He is a phenomenal athlete at the position. Such a natural pass catcher. Doesn't allow the ball to get into his body, bounce out, things like that. Reliable hands. He isn't going to drop it. He's going to hands catch it. He's going to secure it. He's very, very smart, very secure with the football. He's really powerful and tough after the catch, likes to run guys over. But again, phenomenal athlete, can make you miss in space. It's one of the things for me when you look at a guy that kind of has these traits that make you say, hey, what is the ceiling for Tyler Warren? And I think his ceiling is ridiculous. So you're looking at 9 missed tackles forced this year, which is 4th for tight ends. His average depth of target is 6.4 yards per catch, 7.4 yards per catch, or yards after catch per reception. Contested catch rate, 66.7%. PFF's given him a 91.6 receiving grade. So you're talking 170 pass snaps, 60 inline, 78 in the slot. So you can line him up. He's not there as a blocker. Absolutely not there as a blocker. Absolutely needs refinement, technical work, all of that. But at 260 pounds, at 6'6", he has got the strength and power to become a blocker. You just got to understand that it's going to take some time. And you put him in Cleveland with David Njoku, who was a similar prospect where he's just not a polished prospect at all, but came in very young. He's not as young as David Njoku. He's a redshirt senior, or is a true senior, sorry. But, came in very raw, and Njoku didn't know how to block either. And now he's one of the better blocking tight ends in the league. I think it would just be perfect to a nice little ball of clay that you could mold into a really nice tight end for, maybe life after David Njoku, or just a threat outside of David Njoku. So Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State, that's my first third-round pick of this mock. Moving right along to round 3, pick 90 from the Buffalo Bills. Give me Parker Brailsford, the center from Alabama. You're talking about more of an athletic center, 6'2", 290 pounds. Needs to add, I think, some size and strength. He has an 85.5 pass block grade this year, no sacks allowed. I believe just one. Let me pull it up real quick for you guys. I believe it's just one pressure on top of that. Yeah, 1 quarterback hurry is all he has allowed this year. 85.5 pass blocking grade, but a 57.7 run blocking grade. I just see a guy, you're talking now about a guy that last year, played some center in 2023, played some right guard in 2023, and then has been their full-time center this year. It's just a guy I don't see, a little over 1,000 snaps. I think he just needs a lot of refinement on his hand placement and his technique as a run blocker. I don't have issues with him as a pass blocker. I think he's a great pass blocker. I think he gets in and out of his sets, uses his hands well. It's just, it does not look great as a pass blocker technically. But I think, not pass blocker, as a run blocker in terms of some of the technique things that he has some issues there. But I think you bring him in, he grows, develops at that position. I think you've got at minimum a really good pass blocker, which is great because as a center, you could help him as a run blocker. You help as a pass blocker too, but just because he's flanked on both sides by guards. But my thing is, I think you bring him in immediately, good pass blocking backup. Just needs to work on some of those things. And when you're drafting guys in the 3rd and the 4th round, you're looking for guys that have traits that you can physically develop and grow. And I think that that Parker Brailsford, his issues just come from just not being a very refined run blocker. I think that's all it is there. Moving right on to the last pick, round 4, pick 104, Ty Hamilton, the defensive tackle from Ohio State. I know in last prospect spotlight, I talked about Tyleik Williams, the other defensive tackle from Ohio State, who's a great run blocker or run defender. But Ty Hamilton as well, 6'3", 295 pounds this year, an 80.6 run defense grade, a 67.4 pass rush grade. The Browns have got to find somebody not named Dalvin Tomlinson that can defend the run consistently. They've got pass rushers. Mike Hall Jr., his former teammate, dude's going to be just fine as a pass rusher, I think, and so they have them. They bring in a guy like Ty Hamilton, I think, just plays with tremendous leverage and confidence. A little bit undersized at 295, especially as a run defender. You don't really think of, a guy under like 315 as a fantastic run blocker. It just doesn't make sense, but I think he's real technically sound, and he moves really well, gets off the line of scrimmage, and just does a great job of eating blocks, if nothing more than him clogging lanes and keeping guys like JOK clean and free to make those hits, get those tackles for loss and things like that. That's really what you need from a guy. So I think Ty Hamilton in the 4th round, be that kind of developmental run stuffer that has a rotational piece, I think is absolutely where to go. Guys, thank you so much for checking out another episode. You guys have been so kind with all the emails and the comments and the words on the website. So please make sure you subscribe, hit that thumbs up. I'll see you guys again next week and for another OBR Prospect Spotlight. As always, go Browns.